Welcome to Sacrilegious Discourse.
I'm husband.
And I'm wife.
Together, we're reading the Bible for the very first time.
We grew up without religion and wanted to know what all the fuss was about.
Well, what have we learned so far?
That God is a dick, and apparently some people believe in talking donkeys?
We're not trying to pass ourselves off as experts.
Nope, we're just reading the Bible for the first time and giving our first take reaction.
If you'd like to join us in this venture, you might consider starting at episode 1.
Otherwise, jump in wherever you like.
All right, let's go read the Bible.
Yeah, let's get to it. Husband!
Wife!
Guess what we're doing now?
Well, it is late on Sunday, but it is still Sunday, so that means that we are doing our...
Sacrilegious Book Club. You messed me
if
up.
If we can get our
like,
shit together, yeah.
You were like, blah, 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 and I was like, what?
Yeah,
what?
sorry.
Yeah, it's Sunday.
It's still Sunday.
And that's book club
currently,
day.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what are we book clubbing today?
We are still reading A Treasury of Jewish Folklore, stories, traditions, legends, humor, wisdom, and folk songs of the Jewish people, edited by Nathan Ozubel. We finished Part 1, Jewish Salt, Part 2, Heroes, Part 3, The Human Comedy, and we are currently in Part 4, Tales and Legends. And today we'll be reading from Chapter 4, Folk Tales, which we started last time, and so we're finishing up this time, and we'll be reading Chapter 5, Demon Tales.
Ooh, Demon Tales, huh?
I know, right?
All right. That sounds like fun. All right, you ready to get into this?
Sure as fuck am.
Well, let's do it.
Okie dokie. All right, husband, do you remember the last time that we started reading from this book, what we were doing in Folk Tales?
Not even a little bit.
I mean, it was over 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. I mean, I can barely usually remember what we did the last episode, so
right.
You're asking me to remember 2 weeks ago, and I'm like,
It was Alexander the Great.
Oh, yeah. I do now that you mention it, remember going over that, yes.
Yeah, so that was all the first half of Folk Tales.
Okay.
So... I thought we would do the other half today, but I really only liked a couple of the stories from this section.
Okay.
So that's why I went on into demons.
Got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's finish up Folk Tales here, okay?
Sure.
So we are going to read The Test of a True Friend on page 570.
Okay.
What do you think is the test of a true friend?
That they always know your name.
What?
Where they always know your name.
No, that's a bar.
Oh, shit.
That's a bar.
Okay. All right.
Have you ever heard the adage, like, your friends know where the bodies are?
Right,
Or,
yeah.
you could call them and they wouldn't ask any questions. They'd help you bury the body.
Yeah.
Yeah, this kind of is maybe where that came from.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting.
Got it.
All right, here we go. Ready?
I'm ready.
When the time came for Arvis, the philosopher, to die, he called his son to his bedside and asked, "Tell me, my son, how many friends have you made in your life?" "I have about 100 friends," answered the son proudly.
Damn, that's a lot.
Yeah, he was clearly on Facebook
Right,
and counting
yeah.
all his social media pals.
Yeah, like people he bumped into down the street, you know?
Yeah, dad's about to set him straight. Like, yeah,
Right.
actually, that's not how friendship works. "Whatever you do," Arvis admonished his son, "don't believe a man is your friend until you've proved him. Reflect that I, who am so much older than you, have found only half a friend in all my life. Isn't it rash of you to say that you have 100? Therefore, my son, go and prove your friends and find out if you have one real friend among them."
Okay. Yeah.
So
there's going to be some test he's going to put to his friends.
Oh,
huh?
yes.
Okay.
I'm about to tell you what that test is.
Got it.
Okay. "How shall I prove them?" the son asked. Then Arvis instructed his son, "Slaughter a calf, cut it up in pieces, and put them in a sack. Also, dip the sack itself in blood. Then carry it to one of your friends and say to him, 'Dear friend, help me, I implore you. I've just killed a man.
Oh.
Please bury him in your yard and nobody need ever know about it. In this way, you will save me from disaster.'"
Right. Yeah.
Yikes.
Okay.
The son did as his father counseled, and bringing the sack to a friend, he pleaded with him to help conceal it. His friend replied, "Ugh, remove that carcass from my house and be off with you. Bury it elsewhere yourself and suffer the consequences of your crime.
That's not a friend.
Furthermore, never darken my threshold again."
Although I gotta stop you here though.
Right?
A friend if you don't question at least, like, what the fuck did you do, man?
Right.
What happened? You have to at least question.
Yeah.
You can't just do it blindly. Because you might be helping a fucking serial, like, this friend hasn't tested you with the same method.
Right.
So how the fuck do they know what you're up to?
I think the fact that this guy didn't tattle on him, but was just like, look, I'm going to pretend this never happened, but no, I'm not going to help you, go away. That's a little bit friendly.
I think people generally just don't like to be involved with other things.
Okay, that's true. That is true.
Get that out of I don't even want to know that happened.
But let me ask you this. Wouldn't you be afraid for the rest of your life that this guy that you just found out in your mind is a murderer?
Right.
Wouldn't you be afraid that he would come to you and kill you because you know his dirty secret
right.
and you wouldn't help him?
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like, you have a choice to make there. Live the rest of your life in fear that a murderer is going to get you, or go ahead and play friend-like and maybe find out what happened while you're helping him.
We don't know. Maybe he came back like an hour later and was like, just kidding, man. That was just a calf.
Yeah, I don't think he did.
Okay.
But
all right.
Maybe.
Right.
I don't think he did, though.
Okay.
So the son went to a second friend and to a third and even to the very last, the 100th one. And each one drove him away. He then returned to his father and told him all that had happened. There's nothing unusual in your experience, his father comforted him. When a man prospers, his friends are numerous. And when he falls on evil days, they vanish like the mist.
Yeah.
Therefore, my son, do as I now bid you. Go and call on that man who I have told you is only half a friend of mine and hear what his answer is.
Okay.
The son went to call on his father's so-called half-friend.
Right.
He begged him to bury the bloody sack secretly. His father's half-friend answered, "Come quickly into the house so that the neighbors won't see you." He also sent away his wife and children, and when they were alone, he began to dig a grave in his yard. When the grave was dug, the son of Arvis, the philosopher, revealed the true contents of the sack.
Okay.
But he waited till the fucking grave was, dug up.
Yeah, right.
When you have oh, no, man, you ain't gotta, no, that's cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, just the fact that you're willing to do it. That's
Yeah,
cool. Right.
yeah. You are the friend my father claimed you to be.
Yeah, I
Much
definitely would not make anybody dig a hole.
Right? Good day to you, sir.
Right.
I came only to prove you as a friend of my father, and I know now that you are a true friend, he cried. The son then returned to his father and told him of the loving kindness his half-friend had shown him.
Yeah.
But tell me, father, he asked, do you think there is anybody in the world lucky enough to have a whole friend? I have never in my life seen a whole friend, his father answered, but I've heard a story about one. Tell me about it, begged the son.
I'm curious, because, what the fuck is a whole friend?
Right? His father then told him the story of true friendship.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought this was a pretty decent story, honestly.
Yeah.
Once there were two young merchants. One lived in Egypt, the other in Babylon. They had never met, but they knew of each other through the reports of travelers. They also sent each other merchandise with messengers. Once, the merchant who lived in Babylon went to Egypt with a caravan of merchandise. When the Egyptian merchant heard that his friend was coming, he hurried out to welcome him, embraced him, and brought him to his home. He showed him all his treasure and had all of his manservants and women servants wait upon him.
Okay.
All his slaves.
Yeah.
He's like,
Right.
do this man good.
Yeah, it's rough work, making all those people do those things.
On the 8th day of his stay, the merchant of Babylon fell ill. His anxious friend then called the most eminent physicians of Egypt to examine the sick man. They examined him thoroughly, but they found no sign of illness. So they deduced that he was lovesick.
Okay.
Apparently being lovesick makes you as sick as if you were flu sick.
Okay.
Yeah. You see where this is going, right?
Is he going to offer his fucking wife or something?
Close.
Daughter?
Yes, close. Tell me, who is the woman you love? His friend asked. Call all the women of your household, and I will point out to you the woman my heart desires. The merchant of Egypt showed all his female servants, but the sick man answered, no, she is not among them. Then the Egyptian showed him a young girl, an orphan, who he himself had raised and whom he had planned to marry because he was without a wife. the way you just adopt an orphan and wait for them to grow up so that you can then fucking marry them, right? The way we all do, right? Yeah. When the sick man saw this child, this girl child, this orphan with no parents and nobody to protect her, this kidnapped little girl, child, kid, sorry, it just says when he saw her.
Yeah.
I had to just...
You embellished.
Yeah. He exclaimed, "Behold, this little person, this child, this not of age thing, this girl holds the power of life and death over me." He fell in love with a little kid.
Right.
That's gross. When the Egyptian heard this, he said to his friend, "Take her and may she be a good wife to you." So he just,
gives up somebody that's not actually blood relation, and
you can fuck this kid. I was gonna fuck this kid, but I really like you, so you can fuck this kid.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not pedophilia if you marry her,
or if you're alive 2,000 years ago,
right? Or if you're alive today and have the money to get the laws changed so that you can marry kids in some states.
Yeah. It's not even have to be changed. There's laws that are standing in states that you can marry people underage. So.
Yep, and that's exciting for all children everywhere.
Yeah.
He gave the bride, the kidnapped orphan child, a dowry and many gifts. Soon after, the sick man became well again. Yeah, I bet he did. And journeyed back to Babylon with his bride, his child.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that part really bothered me.
Right. No, I thought you said this was you liked this story, and I'm like, what?
I like the story except for the fact that there's, pedophilia in it.
Right.
Take that out.
Except for that.
Right? Like, let's say that he just fell in love with
a woman.
Right? That lived in...
But even if he fell in love with a woman, it would, a true love story would have to be a mutual love story. And this is not a mutual love story.
That's what I was going to say. And let's say that she loved him in return.
Okay.
Like, let's say that they fell in love and... He was like, but I know that this is, somebody in your household, so I couldn't possibly tell you this.
So if we adapted this for a time frame in history where people aren't sick fucks?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where my mind is going to go with it.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Years later, the wheel of fortune turned, and the merchant of Egypt lost all his possessions and became destitute. In his despair, he thought of his friend and said to himself, "I will go to my friend in Babylon, for he will surely help me."
Yeah.
When he arrived in Babylon, the merchant of Egypt was footsore from his long journey. His shoes were torn and his garments were in tatters. He trembled for fear that his friend would not recognize him and that the servants would drive him away as a mere beggar.
Yeah.
He spent the first night in an abandoned house at the city's outskirts. As he looked out on the street, he saw two men quarreling. One of the two drew a knife and stabbed the other to death, and then he ran away.
Oh,
this
shit.
escalated quickly, right?
Yeah.
A multitude soon gathered and began to hunt for the murderer. When they entered the abandoned house, there they found the merchant from Egypt.
Oh.
Yeah. "Do you know who murdered this man?" they asked him. Now the destitute man felt sick of life, and the thought of death appeared sweet by comparison. So he cried, "I am the murderer." He went ahead and took the rap.
Because it was his friend who...
He doesn't know if it was his friend or not.
Okay.
He just was like, I might as well be dead. Like, I'm so poor. And
But he's right there near his friend.
I know.
What
But he's
fuck?
like, whatevs.
Okay.
But he was also embarrassed and ashamed. He thought his friend might not recognize him. So even though he was planning to go to his friend, he was still iffy even about that.
Okay.
So he was like, fuck it. Go ahead and just hang me for murder.
Okay.
So that the real murderer can go free.
I guess.
Because we love a murderer.
Somebody
on the loose,
you don't even know who the fuck it is.
Right? Thereupon they took him and cast him into a dungeon. The next morning, the judges sentenced him to be hanged. All the inhabitants of the city came to watch the execution because that's fun. That's entertainment.
Yeah.
Among them was his friend, the merchant from Babylon, who indeed recognized him. Even so,
Yeah.
"You are hanging an innocent man," he cried out to the judges. He didn't even know if he was innocent or not. He's just like, that's my friend that gave me my child bride. So,
okay.
"Know that not he, but I am the murderer."
Oh, damn.
God damn, that is a full friend, right?
I mean, yeah.
The judges then ordered the stranger released and substituted the merchant of Babylon for him on the scaffold. Now among the great multitude gathered around the scaffold stood the real murderer. The spectacle of such true devotion between two friends stirred him deeply. He said to himself, if I permit an innocent man to die for my crime, I shall receive a terrible punishment in the next world.
Bullshit.
I know.
Oh, sorry. Did I? Yeah.
Did you pop bullshit just then? So he cried to the judges, release this man. Neither he nor his friend has committed this murder. The first took upon himself the blame because he found life insufferable. I don't know why he knew that. Yeah, why? But somehow he knew that.
Maybe they were allowed to like talk on the scaffolding or whatever.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Like, as long as we're say your last things here. So
as long as we're rewriting the story, let's do it.
Yeah.
The other took upon himself the blame because of true friendship for the first. Know that I am the real murderer. Hang me and do justice.
I feel like back then they just hung all three of them and been done with it.
Like all y'all are just
like
weird.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah,
you got. We're gonna hang y'all today.
Yeah. So yay, 3 for the price of 1, and the crowd cheered because they were so excited that this is their Facebook of the time.
You would think that an event like that would make people pause and be like, hey, maybe the death penalty isn't the best option,
right? Yeah. yeah. Maybe since the murderer came clean himself and showed that his heart could be moved, maybe instead let's rehabilitate him.
Right.
Because we don't even know why he murdered the other guy.
Yeah.
Maybe the other guy, raped his daughter or something.
Right.
Not that I'm advocating murder, but I'm just saying maybe there were reasons that we don't know about.
There wasn't even a fucking trial. They just decided
they were like, you're a murderer. We're going to hang you.
Right.
Retribution and whatnot. All right. This is the other story I'm going to read from this section. It's called The 3 Daughters, or The Evil of Tale-Bearing.
Okay.
And it's on page 583.
All right.
Okay. Once upon a time, there lived a pious man who had 3 daughters. The first one was a thief. The second was a sluggard. And the third was a liar who never spoke the truth and who slandered people whenever she had an opportunity. One day, a pious man who had 3 sons came to the city and said, you have 3 daughters and I have 3 sons. Let us make a match between them. Because that's how we do it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But the father of the girls said, let me alone. My daughters are not good enough for your sons, for each one has a vice.
Oh my God.
At least he was honest. I'm
thinking this is awful. Like, you are literally, okay, first of all, you're doing something that you shouldn't. I mean, okay, look, I know the times were different.
And culture,
and that's what
because
happened
they
back
still
then.
do that today.
Right. But like, how you're giving away a human being, and then you're like, and my own children, I'm going to say aren't good enough
to even be given away.
Like, fuck you, dude.
Yeah.
You're their dad.
Yeah.
Fuck off, man.
I mean, honestly, if you have 3 kids, one of them is a liar, one's a thief, and one's a lazy ass, like, why?
Yeah, it seems like it might have, apple doesn't fall far from the tree, right?
Like, how pious were you, my good sir?
Right.
The father of the boys asked, what are their vices? And the other replied, one's a thief, the second is a sluggard, and the third is a liar. The father of the boys asked, have they no other vices than these? If so, I will cure them. Leave it to me. So they were betrothed, and he took the damsels with him and married them to his sons. As soon as the weddings were over, he gave to the thief the keys to all his money and satisfied her greed so that she had no reason to steal.
Okay.
To the second, he gave men servants and maid servants in plenty so that she should have nothing to do. Go ahead, be lazy, it's fine. As to the third, he fulfilled all her wishes so that she should not tell lies or slander anybody. And whenever the father-in-law left her house, he embraced and kissed her, for he hoped that by being good to her, he would cure her of her evil quality, and she would not carry on slander anymore. Talking shit about people.
All right, so they get rewarded for bad behavior?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome.
I'm okay. All right. Anyway, I'm listening still. I'm trying to I'm assuming like a lot of these stories there's some sort of like
a moral
message or a moral.
Right.
And thus far we're shooting pretty low on these stories here today.
No, it's great. It's great. One day, the father came to see how his daughters were getting on. So he went to the first one and asked her how she was getting along with her husband and how she was treated by her parents-in-law. She replied, I thank you so much, Father, for having given me in marriage to this man, for I have everything my heart desires. And moreover, I have all the keys in my hand so that I do not have to steal. It's almost like she's saying, it's a good thing that my husband has money. You obviously didn't have enough, and that's why I had to steal.
Right.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Like, oh, sorry I wasn't rich?
Yeah.
Jesus. Like, guess what? You can be not rich and also not be a thief.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, we're not rich and we're not thieves. How about that? Isn't that neat how that works out?
That's pretty neat, yeah.
Then he went to the sluggard and asked her.
Hold on. I've taken a pen from work.
Oh, yeah, you
I want to
did.
be completely honest
No,
here. So.
I've done the same multiple times.
Yeah.
Actually, you took a roll of toilet paper from work.
I did during the pandemic. Yeah.
You did. You did. And sometimes you still tape from work.
Occasionally.
Yeah. I took paper from work one time. An entire package of paper. Not like a box.
Right.
But definitely an unopened paper package. I mean, whatever.
Yeah.
You know,
sometimes you need printing paper, you know?
Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Right.
And a company ain't going to miss it.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, he went to the lazy ass and asked her how she was getting on. And she also said, I am so thankful to you, Father, for having brought me here. For I need not lift a hand. I have men servants and maid servants in plenty, and my husband and parents-in-law all treat me very well. See, it pays to be lazy. You just wait around.
Yeah, I guess.
Everything works itself out.
Right.
I mean, that's what I always like to believe, because I am a lazy ass. What? Then he came to the daughter who told lies to ask her how she was getting along, and she said, you are a fine father. I thought you gave me one husband, but it seems you gave me two, the father and the son. For no sooner does my husband leave the house than my father-in-law comes in and kisses me and hugs me and wants me to do his will. Remember Slanderer?
Oh, yeah.
Dear father, if you do not believe it, come tomorrow morning and you will see it is true. Next morning, the father came, and she put him in a room where he could see what was going on. Her father-in-law came as usual and kissed her and embraced her and said to her, my dear daughter-in-law, how are you getting along? Is there anything you want? He did all this with the good intention of curing her of her vice, you know, as we said.
Right.
But her father, who saw it, grew furious and rushed out of his chamber and killed him.
Oh, my God.
Then he tried to get away, but when her two brothers-in-law came home and found their father lying dead, they killed their father-in-law.
Oh, my God.
Then the slanderer began to shout, murder, murder. And they understood it was through her that the tragedy had occurred.
Oh, my God.
So they killed her too.
Holy shit.
And thus, through slander, 3 persons lost their lives.
Wow.
Therefore, did Rabbi Huna say, the sin of the evil tongue is greater than the 3 sins, murder, adultery, and theft combined.
Oh, that's what this whole story was about? Just
sure.
About lying sucks.
You wanted a moral.
Yeah.
It's not just lying, it's like the slandering of people.
Sure. So, no, I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So that finishes folk tales. We're done with that chapter. Okay. Now we're going to read about demon tales. Okay.
All right.
There's a really cool intro where we get to learn about Lilith.
Okay.
And we did a section on her before in Patreon.
Yes,
so I highly recommend that you go back and listen to that episode if you haven't already, if you're a Patreon member.
Right. I think it's just called Lilith or something, I believe.
Mm-hmm. And if you're not a Patreon member, here is your obligatory invitation to go do that.
To be fair, I think we released that one later, like 6 months later after we released that episode. I think we released it on our regular run, too.
Oh, okay.
So I could be wrong about that. I may not be correct, but I think it is in our regular run, too.
Well, it was a good one.
Yeah.
And you should go listen to it.
Yeah.
But we're going to learn about demons, including Lilith.
Yeah.
Okay? So I'm going to read some tidbits from the introduction to Demon Tales. Okay. According to primitive belief, demons or spirits animate all natural phenomena. Jews, too, believe in the reality of demons, devils, fiends, specters, ghosts, and spirits. Demons and migrant spirits inflicted illness upon the body, especially in the internal organs and the mind. Each illness had its own particular demon, special demons for blindness, deafness, epilepsy, headache, delirium, insanity, etc.
So much like in the natural world where we can't explain storms and we can't, like in the ancient times, right?
Yes.
We can't explain certain things. Gods do those things.
Yeah.
the internal, on yourself, with the things you can't explain happening to you,
those are demons. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. External is gods. Internal is demons.
Right.
Fucking with your body.
Yeah.
Yep. Despite that a belief in demons was not integral to the doctrines of Judaism, it nonetheless was widespread among the Jews of post-biblical times. Yet, on account of their rationalistic conditioning and a higher level of literacy in the mass, it manifested itself among them to a lesser degree than among other people. So that makes sense.
Okay.
So they still had their legends, but they recognized them as such more than other cultures did.
Sure. Okay.
During their long Babylonian sojourn, as was
sojourn, huh?
Yeah, their sojourn. That's cute, right?
I like that.
As was to be expected, Jews fell under Chaldean and Persian cultural influences, which
we've discussed that at length, actually,
and that's where we are right now. So this was
very relevant.
Yeah, yeah. Their dualistic angel-demon conception was directly borrowed from Zoroastrianism.
Wow.
Right?
That's really cool.
Keeps popping up.
Yeah.
I knew you'd enjoy that.
Huh.
The conflict of opposites became a fundamental part of Kabbalistic doctrine. God was pitted against Satan, good against evil. That's capital G, good, capital E, evil.
Right.
The pure against the impure, the angels against the demons.
Well, just think of how much this type of thinking influences what Christianity is today in the United States.
Yes.
Like, this is kind of what Christianity, evangelical Christianity, embodies in the United States now.
And our laws are being changed to be based upon this childhood nonsense.
Right.
This childish, thousands of year old stories and fables.
That's not even really, like, it's something that's based on a different, we're pulling these ideas from different religions. No one really knows that, but, like, you know, these are not new ideas. These are not, like, new ways of thinking about God. They're old. They're ancient. They're archaic.
Like, I just want to walk up to somebody like Marjorie Taylor Greene and be like, you're so full of shit, you Chaldean. You know? Like, honestly, like, you a sheriff pole dancer. Right? The early Christians, being themselves Jews, naturally carried over Jewish demonology into their religion.
Wow.
How about that?
Yeah.
We just say it how it is.
Yeah.
Yep. We're just going to put it right out there.
Yeah.
Okay, skipping ahead, blah, blah, blah. In medieval times, the Jewish conception of demons differed in some respects from that held by Christians.
I can imagine.
Not all denizens of the spirit world were regarded as being necessarily evil.
Okay.
Like,
all right.
Some of them were just like other creatures.
Well,
you know what I mean?
the concept of God was a lot different back in those times too. So there wasn't necessarily, for a lot of people, just one God.
Right.
And that idea of a monotheistic God solidified more during the Babylonian exile than it did at any other time in the Jewish history.
Exactly. Some were even considered to be benevolent and helpful to the pious and the deserving in time of need.
Okay. And
we will read a story that kind of has one of those people.
Well, and specifically Lilith is kind of got different aspects to her, right? Like, there's good stories, there's bad stories.
Sure.
There's, there's a lot of people that she represents strength to.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, there's good and bad.
But then, of course, she's also a child-eating, blood-sucking vampire succubus.
Right, but I feel like that's how an evangelical white male would describe women today.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. You back-talking bitch. Get in your place. Yeah, exactly. The medieval Jews believed that demons resembled angels in three ways. They had wings, they could fly from one end of the world to the other, and they could foretell future events. The demons also resembled human beings in three ways. They had to eat and drink, they procreated like them, they also died like them. So they were like the in-betweens.
Got it. And therefore this would allow you to call other people demons and, whatever.
Exactly.
Hence the witch trials and shit like that.
Yes,
right?
Yes. They subsisted on the natural elements, water, fire, wind, and moisture. Which, I'm like, what's the difference between water and moisture?
I mean,
Like, do you mean fog? Say fog.
Or dew. Like, there's a difference between a body of water and dew.
Right.
You know, so.
It's just...
Right, it's all the same fucking thing, but they weren't...
It's water.
Okay, again, they didn't have scientific methods to decide why is this and that's that, you know?
Right.
So it was two different things to them.
Right. It's just silly.
Yeah, well, yeah.
The only possible cause of death among them was when they got dry.
Dry, huh?
Mm-hmm, yeah. In the hour of mating, they acquired bodies like humans, but lost them immediately thereafter. Okay?
Okay.
So that's demons in general.
Sure.
Let's talk about Lilith.
Okay.
All these characteristics belong to Lilith, later the wife of Samael, angel of death. She is the subject of distinctive portraiture in Jewish myth and legend. She had an interesting origin, and equally as interesting was the persistence with which her fearful image plagued the superstitious folk through the centuries.
Yeah.
In ancient Assyria, there are 3 female demons called Lilith, Lilu, and Ardat Lilith.
Interesting.
The first Jewish reference to Lilith is found in Isaiah chapter 34, verse 14. Yea, the night monster Lilith shall repose there and shall find her a place of rest.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure that was the moment when we were like, and we're doing a Patreon episode about Lilith.
Right.
Which I do think you're right. I do think we eventually released that as a public episode.
It was just too important of it was
too good.
Yeah.
There was too much good detail in it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the Midrash, which is the post
supplemental text for the Jewish, whatever.
Jewish writings
Jewish
about
writings
the Torah.
That are still, well, maybe not still, but we're ongoing for years at least.
They're still hashed over and talked about and added to in other versions. And they're just important things that we reference, how different people thought about things at different times.
I like the idea of that, though. I do have to say that, the idea that the Jewish faith has a book of their religion that is continually growing.
Yeah.
Is what I want to say.
It's admirable. Because they're back and forthing. What do you think this meant? I don't know. What if it meant that? Yeah, but no, because that's not, if you look on page such and such, I hadn't thought of that. Okay, but what about this? That's really cool.
Right. And with Christianity, there's literally no growth. No. There's no growth. In fact,
these conversations happen, but not in one unified voice.
Right.
Which is why there are only 100 billion trillion different sects of Christianity.
Well, and that's the only thing that happens in Christianity is the interpretations change.
Right.
That's the only thing that changes.
Mm-hmm. But that's why we have a whole bunch of different types of Christianity.
Right. There's not really a lot of scholarly endeavors to push forward what Christianity is with regard to the actual texts.
You're not supposed to ask, what do you think this meant?
Right.
And that's basically what all those writings are.
Yeah.
That's what they all come down to.
And who's to say we don't have something valuable to add today just as much as they had something valuable to add back then?
Exactly.
So it doesn't make any sense to me.
Right.
But we've decided that that's it.
That's it.
We're done.
That's the end. We don't grow anymore.
Nope.
No growing.
Yep.
Which I'm like, that tracks. Boomers and older, they don't want to grow. They don't want to learn. They don't want to. They're always like these kids and their damn music. And I'm like, no, actually, as a Gen X, I love Gen X music. I also love today's music. I also love music from the 50s and 60s. I love music from all different ages because I'm not afraid to grow.
Right.
So, I don't know. If you're a boomer listening to this and you complain about music today, you are just not listening to the right music.
Right.
There's good music put out there.
Yeah, I think that most anything that if you want to continue to grow as a human being, you have to be curious and open to new ideas. Mm-hmm. Always.
Yeah.
And I think we've had many talks about this to where we want to, we've even told our kid,
yes,
please, smack us if we're stupid and stop growing.
Yeah,
we just don't want to.
If we are ever you just don't understand what it's like to be old and not know things, blah, blah, we're please just go ahead and either, if we can't be moved to understand what we're doing, just push us into a ditch.
It's one thing to offer your wisdom, which I will grant. People who are older have wisdom.
No, they have more experiences, which may lead to wisdom.
Right. They can maybe have more wisdom. Okay. But it doesn't mean just because you're older does not make you right. Just across the board. Just
because you've had more life experiences doesn't mean that you've interpreted them correctly and have something to offer.
Right.
You know?
I mean, I think that shows in the amount of new ideas that have sprung forward as correct with regard to treating humans correctly since we were in our 20s.
Yeah.
You know, like we're talking about a 20 to 25 year span of time where, you know, the entire idea of what it means to accept humans has changed.
Right. And our language has changed, how we talk about things, how we, even in our own home, like you might speak differently with your partner, you know, in the secret of your house, you might reveal that you speak one way outside your house to be socially correct, but then come inside your house and you're like, but honestly, I don't feel that way. No, even in our own house, we check each other.
Right.
We still, you know, just how we think has evolved. How we speak has evolved.
Yeah, we take it very seriously as far as how we want to be correct, and we want to not correct. We want to be accepting of people for who they are. And to us, that is one of the most important aspects of being a human, is that we treat people equitably and without judgment.
Right.
You know?
Being old gives you the excuse that you might not always remember and you might fuck it up. Being old doesn't excuse your rudeness and your unwillingness to even try.
Right. As long as you apologize for the mistakes you made. And we have people like that in our lives.
We have some boomers in our lives, but
they try.
They get it wrong like probably 80% of the time, if we're being honest.
But they try.
They try and they feel bad.
Yeah.
And they mean well, and there's a forgivability factor with somebody who shows that they give a shit.
Yeah. It's about making the effort, right?
Yeah. If you are a boomer and you find that you no longer make an effort, go ahead and, you know, will yourself right on over to a ditch, maybe. I don't know. Whatever. I'm just saying there's good music out there and you're missing it.
Right.
So sorry,
that's true. That is true.
All right, so in the Midrash and other post-biblical writings, Lilith is also described as a demon of the night.
Okay.
Rashi, the imaginative medieval exegete of worms, said that Lilith bore the human shape of a woman, yet had the wings of an angel. She is usually described in legend as an irresistibly seductive woman with long hair, because, you know, seductive, beautiful women always have long hair.
Yeah.
If they have short hair, they're not attractive. Men like long hair. Like the Greek siren Circe, she seduces unwary men and then savagely kills the children she bears for them.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. This personification of Lilith as a demon of vengeance against the children of men finds a most curious explanation in Midrash literature.
Okay.
Here we go, okay?
Yeah.
This is what we got into.
Okay.
When God created Adam, the first man felt very lonely in the newly fashioned world. So God, in his loving kindness, created Lilith from Adama, the same dust from which Adam had been molded.
Okay.
And that's where Adam took his name.
Right, yeah.
And whose name he bore. But before long, they quarreled. Why'd they quarrel, babe?
Because they were equal.
And what did Adam think about that?
He did not like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Apparently, God likes men more.
Yeah.
So.
Imagine why. Why do you think that is?
Because he's a dick.
And because God was created by man.
Well, yeah.
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 For Adam, the proverbial domineering male wished to rule over Lilith. I mean, let's put it right. The story really is that he wanted her to submit and she wanted to ride cowboy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And he was like, that's unseemly. And she was like, but I like a good fuck.
Right.
And he was like, we don't fuck, we make love. And she's like, that's what you say. I found my G-spot, babe. The Midrash legend has him laying down the law for her and her sex. Ugh. I am your lord and master, and it is your duty to obey me. Now bring me a beer, bitch.
Oh, my God.
But Lilith, a militant feminist, feminist.
Haven't heard that in a while.
Right?
Yeah.
Was equally proud and willful. She retorted, "We are both equal, for we are both issued from dust, Adama. Therefore, I will not be submissive to you. I'm not going to suck that dick, thank you." Yeah, right?
Yeah.
She then pronounced the ineffable name of God and flew away.
Damn.
The ineffable name, right?
Yeah.
Anybody who has seen Good Omens knows what ineffable name of God or the ineffable plan of God.
And if you haven't seen Good Omens, you should look it up and go watch it right now. Because it's fantastic.
It is so good. I mean, to be fair, it's got, oh shit, what's that actor?
David Tennant?
Yeah, David Tennant in it. How could it not be? You know? Yeah, it's so good.
Yep.
You know, to be fair, it's based on great material. The book of
Neil
the same
Gaiman.
name by Neil Gaiman. Yeah, read it. It's great. You know what? I say that not everybody loved it, but they should.
Sure.
Just so you know.
It's one of our family favorites.
Yep. She then pronounced the ineffable name of God and flew away. No sooner had she left him when Adam felt lonely again. But who's gonna suck my dick? Aggrieved by her rebellion and desertion of him, he complained to God, "O Lord of the universe, the woman thou hast given me has fled from me."
Oh, no, not that.
God agreed that Adam had been unjustly treated.
Yeah,
Man, I
it was
hate it
awful.
when a bitch won't submit.
Right?
And then sent 3 angels in pursuit of the fleeing wife.
Oh, Jesus.
When they caught up with her over the Red Sea, they ordered her to return at once to Adam, but she refused. At this, the angels grew very angry. They were very angry. And threatened, "We will drown you in the sea."
Damn.
Unafraid, Lilith answered, "Don't you know I've been created for the purpose of weakening and punishing little children, infants, and babes. I have power over them from the day they are born until they are 8 days old if they are boys, and until the 20th day if they are girls."
That's very specific.
Right?
Yeah. And why was that the case?
Because a boy child would be circumcised, I think. Or no, not circumcised.
I know that the women were unclean for different amounts of time for having a boy versus a girl.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. But that's very specific and weird.
It is very weird. Yeah. Angered by her defiance, the 3 angels laid hold of her to drown her. Frightened now, Lilith pacified them with the promise that if she entered the home where a woman was about to give birth, and she saw an amulet on each wall bearing the names or the images of the 3 angels, Senoi, Sansanoi, and Semengoloth, she would spare the infant. So they let her go. Now, here's what I don't understand. They were like, "We're going to kill you." And she's like, "If you don't kill me, I'm going to do bad things." And they were like, "Right, so that's why we're going to kill you."
Right.
And she's like, "Okay, if you don't kill me, I'll do less bad things." And they're like, "Okay." What? Why didn't they, like, I don't understand. Why didn't they just kill her?
It makes literally no sense.
Right, like, I don't think you guys understand how to negotiate.
That was a bad calculation, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's got to be something missing from that story. Why did they actually let her go?
Right. Yeah.
Why didn't they just kill her?
Yeah.
Like, no, bitch.
Yeah,
we're not going to let you live if you're going to do any bad.
Yeah, no one has who's in a position of no negotiation power is able to do something like that and then like just say I'm going to do less bad things,
right?
And get away with it. That's not how that works.
Exactly. So, yeah, I've never understood that. I've read that more than once and literally it doesn't make sense.
Right.
So they let her go, and God was obliged to create Eve to be Adam's maid. Womp womp.
Yeah.
Eve.
Man.
Eve sucks.
I guess you'll do.
I mean, bring me a beer. And ever since then, Lilith has been roaming the world, flying at the head of her 480 hosts of evil spirits, and destroying angels, howling her hatred of mankind through the night, and vowing vengeance because of the shabby treatment she had received at the hands of Adam.
Damn.
For that reason, she has been called in demonic legend the Howling One. Ow!
Okay.
To guard themselves against her vengeance, superstitious Jews of former times would hang in the room of a newborn babe 4 coins, one on each wall, to serve as amulets against Lilith's wicked designs. Fixed to each coin was a label inscribed with the words, "Lilith, be gone!" Some philosophical philologists.
Holy crap.
Philologists. It was a hard word, and it's like split on 2 lines, and do you know philologist?
I do not.
Okay, well, fuck off then. So some languagey dudes even think that the English word lullaby is nothing but a corruption of Lila Abi, which means Lilith be gone.
Okay.
Interesting, interesting. Sense. Okay, so now we're going to read about some demons. Ready?
How many stories do we have?
Just a couple. Okay? Just a couple.
Well, okay.
Okay, so Demon Tales, The Witches of Ascalon, page 599.
All right.
You ready for this?
Sure.
Okay. When Rabbi Simon, the son of Shita, was appointed a prince in Israel, people came to him and said, in the city of Ascalon, there is a certain cave inhabited by 80 witches. One rainy day, Rabbi Simon gathered together 80 stalwart young men and gave each one a new vessel, a clean robe being folded in each. So I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't
Here's
either.
a vessel and here's a robe inside your vessel.
Right.
The young men accompanied Rabbi Simon to Ascalon, bearing the vessels on their heads so that their clothes should not be spoiled by the rain.
Vessel.
Yeah, right?
Is that like a basket or something? Like, what the fuck is a vessel?
I don't know. Rabbi Simon said to them, I will enter the cave by myself. If I whistle once, put on your robes. And if I whistle a second time, all of you together rush into the cave, and each of you seize a witch and lift her up from the ground. For such is the nature of witches, that if you raise them from the ground, they can do nothing. I never heard that before.
Nor have I.
And I don't think that is true.
Yeah.
Like, what a random factoid.
Right.
Pick up a witch and suddenly she's powerless?
Yeah, that's really weird.
Yeah.
Just for the record, vessel is literally a container, cup, jar, bowl.
I mean, I know what the word vessel means.
Right.
I just didn't understand what it meant.
I knew what it means too, but it just didn't make a lot of sense in that context.
Doesn't.
So, yeah.
It still doesn't.
Right.
So, thank you for that. Nothing.
Right. Yeah.
When Rabbi Simon arrived at the entrance to the cave, he shouted, Witches, witches, open for me. I am one of you. Do you believe him?
No, I don't.
They said to him, How is it your clothes are so dry in this time of rain? I walked between the drops of rain, he answered.
Oh, I see. This was a trick to make them think that they had powers.
And they asked again, What have you come for? And he replied, To learn and to teach. Let each one of you show me what you can do, and I will show you what I can do. One witch uttered an incantation and bread appeared. Another brought meat in a similar way. A third dishes, and a fourth wine. Then the witches said to him, Now what can you do?
Yeah, what can you do?
To which he replied, I can whistle once and cause to appear 80 young men clad in dry robes who will make merry with you and you with them.
Oh,
they about to fuck them witches.
Horrible.
He whistled once and the boys donned their robes. He whistled a second time and they all rushed into the cave. Simon said to them, Let each one choose his partner.
Simon said, huh?
Simon said.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, he did. And according to their instructions, each of the young men lifted up a witch and then carried them away to be hanged. Thus was Ascalon rid of its 80 witches. The end. Yeah, how about that, huh?
Yeah.
Them some witches.
So I guess Jewish folklore is not exactly free of shitty things towards women / witches.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Last one. Ready?
I'm ready.
We got the miser's transformation on page 612.
Okay.
In a certain city, there once lived a rich man. He possessed lands and gold and had chests full of costly vessels of silver inlaid with precious stones. Rich as he was also miserly. He never gave an alms to a poor man, helped no one in distress, and even kept away from the synagogue out of fear that he might be asked to make a donation. For this reason, he was nicknamed the Miser.
Okay.
Nonetheless, this same tight-fisted man could also be unselfish. He served as voluntary mohel to the newly born boys of the neighborhood and consecrated them to the faith of Jehovah and to the Holy Torah. He fulfilled this obligation with such devotion that he never made any distinction between rich and poor and was never deterred by time, effort, and money to journey for this purpose to the most distant places. So he was mostly a miser.
Okay.
Kind of like Prince Wesley, or not Prince Wesley, but Wesley in The Princess Bride. He wasn't dead. He was just mostly dead.
Right.
One day, as he stood before his house, a stranger approached him and said, My wife has just been delivered of a son. I would therefore like you to consecrate him." The miser replied, "This is my duty. Wait a moment, and I'll follow you. Tell me, where do you live?" "I live far away," said the stranger, "but I'll drive fast. I've good horses and a light wagon." The miser went into his house, looked carefully over the securely locked chests that held his treasure. Then he bolted door and gate and followed the stranger.
Okay.
At first, the man drove at a slow, unhurried pace. The miser, who knew the countryside well, could see where they were going. But suddenly, the stranger started to whip up his horses that now tore away at a great speed. They sped by fields and woods and mountains and valleys until a mist fell and night began to descend.
Okay.
All this time, the miser had not heard one single bird sing or a bee hum or a brook gurgle. When the moon rose at last, he looked fearfully around him. What was his terror to see that the horses cast no shadow.
Oh.
They sped at a breathtaking speed, neighing and pounding the road with their hooves. The journey seemed to come to no end. When he saw this, he said to the driver with a quavering voice, "Where are you taking me?"
Yeah.
"We'll soon be at our destination," the stranger assured him. And even as he spoke, the dawn began to break. The mist lifted and the sun shone dazzlingly upon a little hamlet. It nestled in a verdant valley. Looking upon it, a peace such as he had never known before descended upon the frightened miser. The stranger drove slowly to his home, where he and the miser were soon surrounded by a group of men who greeted them with a hearty "Shalom Aleichem." The servants led the horses into the stable, while the host escorted his guest into the house. The miser stood mutely, regarding everything with astonishment. The magnificence of every object dazzled him. The furniture was inlaid with gold, silver, and gems. The doors were of carved ivory. Even the locks, bolts, and nails in the house were fashioned of gold and silver. When the host excused himself and went without, the miser began to speculate in his mind which costly object he saw would be given him as a gift. Because,
Right.
greedy.
Yeah.
He wandered from one room into another and at last found himself in the room of the woman who had given birth. What splendor he found here! The woman lay in a bed made of silver, and nearby, in a cradle of beaten gold, slept the newborn babe. As soon as she noticed the miser, the woman motioned him to approach. "I am happy to see you here," she murmured. "You have it in your power to perform a great service for me. Believe me, I'll remain ever grateful to you for this. In repayment, I will reveal to you a great secret. Know that you are not now among mortal men. Those who live here are demons. The one who brought you, my husband, is a demon. You have been snared here by lie and deception.
Okay.
The splendor and magnificence of gold and gems which you see all about you are nothing but dazzle and shimmer, and unreal as mist."
Okay.
Thereupon the miser's courage died in him. "I'm a human being like you," continued the young mother. "I was caught in this evil net in my tender youth. The snare of my husband's gifts blinded my reason, and thus, before I knew it, I became the wife of a demon.
Yeah.
Although I'm already beyond saving, there is still time to save you." "I'm lost," wailed the frightened miser. "Let me warn you betimes," cautioned the woman, "not to taste any food or drink while you're here. Neither must you accept any present from my husband, regardless whether it's costly or trifling in value." The miser left her, trembling in every limb. He thought regretfully of everything he had left behind him, of his lands and his gold. He was certain everything was lost to him now, and he himself was at the mercy of the demons.
I'm going to have to remember this for a time when I want something free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When night fell, he heard a tremendous uproar outside. Horses and wagons bearing demons were arriving in a steady stream. No doubt they came as guests to the circumcision celebration. Once again, the miser was obliged to enter the chamber of the mother and child. Together, the demon guests he intoned prayers and incantations to guard the child against evil spirits and ghosts who delight in harming newborn children. As at the festive board, the demons waxed gay and hilarious. But the miser declined all food and drink. Yay, so he was listening. Good boy.
Yeah.
The bright candlelight illumined the magnificent interior, but in the soul of the miser reigned darkest gloom. He decided to hear nothing and see nothing. He thought only of the terrible things the unfortunate mother had told him. That night he could not fall asleep, but lay awake, alert and watching. When morning came, his host conducted him to a synagogue which was already full of demon worshippers. The miser was courteously invited to act as a precentor. Full of anguish, he sang the service, and as the congregation of demons chanted with him, the dread chill of their voices congealed his blood. After they were through praying, the child was fetched, and the miser performed the rite of circumcision. According to custom, everyone present tasted refreshments, but the miser excused himself on the pretext that this was his special fast day. At this, his host spoke up with cunning. It is our duty to honor our guest and to postpone our feast until this evening, when we will be able to join us in eating and drinking. The miser's heart sank. He only thought of how he could best save his soul from perdition. The day passed quickly and night fell. Again, the host came and led the miser to the festive board around which sat the other demons. They ate and drank lustily and made merry. Only the miser sat silent and dejected. When he was pressed to eat and drink, he excused himself this time with the plea of illness. As the gaiety of the demons grew in intensity, his own terror increased. Suddenly his host arose and motioned to him to follow him into another room. This is my last hour on earth, thought the miser in terror as he followed him. As the demon opened the door, the miser's eye fell upon an astonishing array of beautiful and costly vessels. There's the vessels again.
Yeah.
Since you have done me such a great service, said the demon, I want you to accept a little token of appreciation from me. Choose what you like from among all that you see here. The miser was filled with consternation. I have all the silver I want at home, he blurted. Thank you just the same. Without a word, the demon led him into the next room. Here all the objects were made of gold. Do you like any of these things? Asked the demon. Thank you kindly, replied the miser hastily. I have all the gold I want at home. Without another word, the demon then led him into the next room. The miser stood speechless with excitement at what he saw. Here there was no magnificence, no sparkle of silver or glow of gold. All he saw were bunches of keys, all sizes and shapes, hanging from nails on the wall. A strange thing, muttered the demon. When I showed you first my treasures of silver and then of gold, you remained cold and indifferent. But now, when I show you just bunches of keys made of ordinary iron, you show astonishment. The amazement of the miser suddenly gave way before a deadly fear. Right before him, on a nail in the wall, hung a familiar bunch of keys. The demon stretched out his hand and took it off the wall. These are my keys, cried the miser, quaking. Truly, these are the keys with which I've locked the chest in which I keep my treasures. Don't be afraid, even if these are your keys, said the demon in a cold voice. Don't turn pale, don't tremble so. Since you did me a great service by coming here and have refused to accept any gift of me, I want to show my appreciation in some other way. Know that I am a demon. I am lord and master of all those evil spirits who have power over the riches and treasures in the possession of humans who are as miserly as you, and who, like you, never aid the needy when they cry out. Also know that neither you nor such as you are the actual owners of the wealth. We, demons, hold the keys to your strong boxes and guard them well, although we can never enjoy them. Here then is your bunch of keys. Take them and become sole master of your riches. The miser quickly snatched at the keys. His host called for a wagon. The miser got into it and was whirled away. The wagon stopped before the miser's door and he alighted. But no sooner did his feet touch the ground when both the horse and the driver vanished. The miser entered his house, but he was not the same man anymore. He opened his treasure chests and strong boxes and took out all their valuables. He distributed alms, clothed the poor, and did good to those in misfortune. A new and beautiful life began for him. From this time on, people stopped calling him the miser. Instead, they honored his noble example, and when he died, they followed him with blessings on their lips to his eternal rest.
I
The end.
All right. Well, that all we have today for the book club?
That is all we have today for the book club.
The book club. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. So that wraps this episode up for today. I'm going to get the weekly wrap up out here shortly. Mm-hmm. And then we will be back on Monday with
Ezekiel chapter 11.
All right. We'll see you guys then.
Bye.
Hey, wife, I guess that's the end?
But husband, that's just sad.
It doesn't have to be. We are on lots of social media platforms like Twitter. Our handle there is sacrilegious_D.
For D's nuts.
Oh my God. Stop doing that. Anyway, we're also on Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. There's a link to all of our social media sites at our website.
Ooh, we have a website?
Yeah, it's sacrilegiousdiscourse.com, where you can also find a link to our merch shop.
We have a merch shop?
Yep, we have podcast-themed clothing, mugs, notebooks, and more, as well as an atheist and science-themed products.
Wow, our fans should really go check that out right now.
Definitely. They can get in touch with us by sending an email to sacrilegiousdiscourse@gmail.com. But before they do that, we could really use some help.
Oh yeah? With what?
Well, it's not free running the podcast, and we need some financial support in order to get better equipment, which will free up time so we can concentrate on our podcast and our fans.
Okay, so what should they do?
Head over to patreon.com/sacrilegious discourse and sign up as a contributor on our podcast. Supporters there receive additional bi-weekly episodes that we record just for our Patreon members for as little as $2 a month.
Also, we'd really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe on whatever platform you're using.
And Apple Podcast reviews help us out tremendously.
Like and subscribe. Leave an Apple review. Join us on Twitter. Support us on Patreon. That's a lot of instructions. Don't forget to say thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, bye.